Hello everybody, I'm going to go quickly over weapons and show you what they do and what they stand for. I'm starting with my Atlas S because, well, it was a gift, so I like it because it was a gift from Piranha Games. So let's start with the AC2. The AC2 does 2 damage, it weighs 6 tons. The AC5 does 5 damage, it weighs 8 tons, but it takes up more slots. The AC10 takes up 7 slots, 12 tons, does 10 damage. AC20 does 20 damage, 10 slots, 14 tons. LB10X AC does 10 damage, takes up 6 slots, and weighs 11 tons. Get a discount from the AC10. Ultra AC5 weighs weighs 9 tons, takes up 6 slots. The Gauss rifle takes up 7 slots, weighs 15 tons. The machine gun takes up a slot and weighs half ton. The machine gun is basically useless unless you can stack like 8 of them, and hopefully you're shooting against a light, because they don't do a lot of damage. They do 0.08 damage, and I think they fire something like 10 rounds per second, so they do 0.8 damage per second. Something of the sort, 7.5 or 0.75, something like that. I don't know. It's not really important. They really don't. They're not meant for killing. They're meant for if somebody's armor is stripped off, that's when you fire them, because then they do the double damage per second, and that's really useful when you're trying to whittle somebody down who's already dead, but you're overheating because your main weapons have heated your mech up. So here it is, machine gun. Useless as a primary weapon. Gauss rifle, useless as a primary weapon, good for sniping because it has a charging mechanic. When you press the button, it charges up. When you let it go, that's when it fires. If you let it go too late, it doesn't fire. So what the hell, don't use it. It weighs 15 tons too, so it does 15 damage at almost 700 meters. So no, don't use it. A lot of people like them because you can use 2 of them or 3 of them or 4 of them, but basically unless you're using at least 2 of them, it's not viable. Somebody's gonna push you and you're gonna die. We're talking about public matches here. We're not talking about grouped up or clan wars matches. We're talking about public matches. Public matches, Gauss rifle, useless. You're better off with a brawler, something like this. So AC20, biggest, baddest brawling weapon. Why? Because it does 20 damage and it does it every 4 seconds, and it only makes 6 heat. If you have an AC20, or if you have room for an AC20, and you're planning on brawling, like specifically brawling, means up in their faces, hitting them, use an AC20. Honestly, if you're new, don't use an AC20. You will get frustrated with it. It's short range, will make you feel like you're doing a lot of damage because your whole mech is going to swing to one side, but it's actually not doing that much damage at 300 meters. 375 meters, you're barely doing half the damage. And the distances are really deceptive, because the mechs are bigger than you think they are. These mechs are much bigger than you think they are. So you might think that you're at 200 meters. No, you're not. You're probably at 300, 400 meters. It's really easy to make the mistake. So don't use a AC20 if you're new. Use this if you're new. First of all, it does a spread, so you don't have to be good at aiming. I'm not saying that you're bad at aim. I'm just saying that you don't have to be good, because the enemy is going to be using the same tactics I explained to you in the first video, where you're shaking their cabin. And they're going to be using them against you as well. So you want something like the LB10X, a shotgun blast, so you can return some of the favors they're sending you all the time. And a lot of those people are going to be using the Ultra AC5 times 2, 2 of them, or the AC2 times 4. They're called Daka Dakas. Why? because they go taka 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 taka. Yep. That reminded me of Russell Peters' father. But anyway, so that's what they do. That's how they go. So AC-10 or LB-10X. LB-10X I recommend for new users. It's really easy to use. It doesn't spread like a shotgun. It works like a shotgun. It's lighter than a AC-10, and it deceptively fast reload. People don't expect you to fire that fast, and it annoys them. So Gauss rifle, I wouldn't recommend for new players. If you like it later on, then go ahead and use it. But if you have only one of them, it's pretty useless because it has that 5-second cooldown. You're basically doing, what is it, 3 damage per second? Yeah, 3 damage per second. It's a joke. This one does 3 damage per second. Doesn't have the same heat. Doesn't have the same range. Guess what? Optimal range 620 as opposed to 660. This one is 8 tons. This one is 15. You can use 2 of these in the place of 1 of these. So you're better off using 2 of these as opposed to 1 of these, because 2 of these will do 6 damage per second as opposed to 3 damage per second. Simple mathematics. If you want to mix max, this game is all about math. You can make the best build really quickly, just with math. But you have to like your build, or you're not going to enjoy it. Not enjoying it will lead you to not enjoying the game. If you just want to inflate your EPing, you can find the overpowered build for any chassis that you like. Well, it's not overpowered, but the best min-maxed build out there. And if you use it the way that the person who built it told you, you'll kill people. And congratulations, you don't need this tutorial. Just go find a build, go in a match, and just do what the people who built it told you to do, and you'll have good matches. But once the match goes wrong, you won't know what to do, and you'll get people on your team angry. Don't get people on your team angry, because you're not gonna have fun in PvP gaming if you're getting your team angry all the time. Stop griefing. Like the machine that you're playing, like the game that you're playing, and you will enjoy it. So, here we go. Energy weapons. You got Flamer, same as the machine gun, situational. It can blind your enemy if that's what you're trying to do, but it's not good for damage or anything like that. It transfers heat to them and it heats them up, but if they have ballistics, you're not really doing much except blinding them. Small lasers, really good for small mechs. Light mechs, stack up a bunch of small lasers. If you don't have the tonnage for medium, for small, pulse lasers. Pulse lasers are better. Medium pulse lasers, I think, are the best heat efficiency and per damage, because they do 6 damage for heat. These do 4 damage to heat, so they're 1/2 ratio. These, well, yeah, they broke them. They nerfed them just a little bit. Now they just need to do the same with the clan mechs, and that's it. Small pulse lasers, best heat efficiency now. Good for cookie cutter builds for a light mech. You stack up 4 or 6 of them, and you just go up real close to your target, shoot them in the face. They're not good for assaults. Don't do that mistake. You'll do a lot of damage if somebody gets close, but if somebody stays at 200 meters, which is doable, especially with something like an AC-20, you can stay at 200 meters and still do full damage. Don't do it for assaults, don't do it for heavies. Small pulse lasers are basically useless for those. Mediums and lights, you can do a lot of damage with these. But I would recommend a hunchback with medium pulse lasers. It's a cheese build. People will be mad at you, but who cares? If you use it right, it's a really good build. Your team won't be mad at you for using a hunchback the way it was meant to be used, as a laser boat. The chassis is built for a laser boat. What are you gonna do? Nerf your own mech just so you don't have a cheese build? No. It's when you make a cheese build on purpose that people get mad. Okay. So, and don't pay attention to those people who get mad at those. Cheese builds have their place. They also have their weaknesses. So, large lasers, extended range large lasers. Those are the two that I will talk about in a different video too, because they're good for sniping. I will do a sniping video and show you just about how it's done correctly. Not, you know, in most games sniping you want to be alone, and MechWarrior you don't want to be alone with the sniping mechs because they have their drawbacks. Your large laser has extended range. It does a little bit more heat, but not that much. It has longer duration, but not that much longer. So if you have perks, you're better off with an ER large laser rather than a large laser. They weigh the same, they take up the same slots. You're better off with a ER large laser rather than a large laser. ER PPC, you're better off with a PPC instead of a ER PPC because this one does a lot more heat, 50% more heat to be exact, 15 heat for 10 damage, and the PPC does 10 damage, 10 heat. It has a shorter range, true, but it's not that much shorter. Well, it's actually half a kilometer, more than half a kilometer shorter. But the travel time doesn't make it viable at that point. You know, it only has 1100 meters per second. This one is 1200 meters per second. People are going to be out of the way because you have more than a second travel time. You may try to lead them probably, but it's not going to help. People make turns all the time in mechs. People don't stand still in mechs. If somebody's standing still, you might get lucky. This is good for a light because it doesn't have a minimum range. So if this is your main armament, you don't want to have a minimum range. This one has a minimum range of, I think it's about 90 meters, something like that. 90 or 95 meters minimum range. So you don't want to use that. SRMs, short range missiles, dumbfire missile, fire straight ahead where you aim it, it goes there. If you move your reticle, it doesn't follow your reticle. It's not a guided missile of any sort. It's a dumbfire missile. They do a lot of damage. They're good. SRM6s do 12.9 damage. SRM2s do 4.3 damage, 2 heat. The heat scales pretty evenly with them. It just doubles and triples. It just goes up. It's not really... The SRM6s are the most heat efficient basically, because they do 4 heat every 12.9 damage. Well, these only do 4.3 damage for 2 heat. So SRM6s, if you're wondering if you should have 2s or 6s, put in 6s. They have a longer cooldown, but the thing is, they do more damage. So you can do a peekaboo, hello, and shoot them in the face and then hide behind cover really quickly. Even if you're in a light or a medium or a heavy, SRM6 has its advantage. If you want to be firing constantly, you don't want to be using something like an SRM to do that. If you're going to be using SRM2s, you might as well use streaker SRMs. Streaker SRMs are a short-range guided missile. You lock on the target, you fire it, and you forget it. LRMs, long-range missile, fire and forget. You lock on the target, fire it, forget it. You gotta keep the target locked. Keep the target in the lock, but there's no control after you fire the missile. NARC counters ECMs, electronic countermeasures, is good to use against people who are shielding their team with an ECM or a light that is trying to flank your team. The thing is, make sure you speak up in voice over IP in-game to your team and tell them that you're about to narc someone. People with LRMs will perk up, pay attention to who's narked. Why? They want to do damage and get kills. So if you narc someone, tell your team beforehand so people have time to react. Don't psych out your own team, basically what I'm saying. Same thing with a tag. You can do the exact same thing with a tag. So let your team know before you tag someone, especially because with a tag, people can see you where you're tagging them from. With a narc, the enemy can see where you narked them from. You can narc them and run away. Really good strategy, especially if your team is responsive. So make sure you make contact with your team. See if the people are willing to talk back and forth. A lot of people are shy A lot of people don't like to talk over voice over IP. It's very useful though, when used correctly. I've seen a video with a guy who's complete role playing, and he's inside of it, man. He's inside of it. Really good video. You should check it out. So I'm not sure if it was Battlefield or Call of Duty though. I don't know. Either way, that guy was basically spamming voice over IP. He didn't let anybody else have a word in. Don't do that. But say hello, what's up? If somebody answers, cool. Nobody answers, just keep your narc to yourself, I guess. Just try to survive and do the points for yourself. Because if your team is not answering, there's something wrong. Maybe they're socially awkward and just don't want to talk to anybody. Maybe they just don't care to talk to anyone. Maybe they have the game on mute. They're listening to music. So don't risk your life for a team that doesn't respond back. But try to communicate with your team in the beginning to get a feel for the game. And that's how you use weapons. Yeah, this is the tag and the narc are the most social weapons. I mean sociable weapons, excuse me. So that's it for the video today. Thank you for coming to my channel. Have a great day. And I'll see you in the games we play.